I'd ask you to rank where the moments rank for you, Jim. But I can only imagine that's a very simple answer. But I'll just let you answer that question.
I got asked that question by a great young writer at the Washington Post a couple of days ago, and I know it got picked up in a lot of places. And I said at the time that I probably can't think of any event that I've called in my life that was bigger than the Tiger win on Sunday. Now, look, again, I count my blessings that CBS has entrusted me with these things for so many years, 34 Masters, 34 Final Fours, a handful of Super Bowls, and some other things. And it's kind of hard to compare sport to sport, but I think I was just talking about you take the texture of the story. After all, when you're a play-by-play caller, you're a storyteller. You're not a statistician. You're really there to get to the heart of the story. And that one just runs deep at so many levels that, again, you have to show restraint. You can't go into it all because it's a visual medium. But most of the people were aware of Tiger's life and where it had gone, where it had been, how he was on top of the world, it seemed, and then it came crashing down, both physically, emotionally, family-wise, all of that. And then to see what appeared to be a remade man behind that green on Sunday with an intense, deeply affectionate moment with his family, it was moving. And it's just kind of hard to beat that, just given the arc of that story and where he'd been, how far he'd fallen, how he rose back. It's just hard to say there's a better storytelling event that I've ever been a part of or been an eyewitness to.
Well, and the crew and the crew that you are face front on behalf of, Jim, that them to piece together the Earl Woods hug of Tiger with Tiger hugging his son Charlie. That really brought a tear. I mean, and we always say that brings a tear to your eye, and that's such an overused phrase, but it really did. I literally started tearing up. I'm wondering what you see that, or somebody gets in your ear as you're sitting there broadcasting. They're like, "Hey, we got this." I mean, walk me through how that hit you.
Well, I think everyone I've heard from has said the same thing. That moment really struck them. It was relatable to all of us. And I'll back you up to the 18th fairway. Tiger contemplating how he's going to play his second shot, knowing he needs to make just a 5, a bogey to win. Steve Milton, our director, cut to a shot behind the green, and there was Tiger's mom, Clotilda. She has been out of public view for a long time.
Yeah, I hadn't seen her in forever. Yeah, exactly.
Forever. She's there, and I identified Charlie in the foreground, Sam, his daughter, in the back, and his girlfriend, Erica. And as soon as I knew that they were in place, my mind instantly went to 97, that we were going to see a scene that was going to rival that moment with his dad. And I even, just as a point of context, mentioned that Tiger got emotional in 06 when he won at Royal Hoylake and at the Open Championship, and it was the first major he won after his father had passed away 2 months earlier. And I thought that this could be, for Tiger, one of the all-time moments in victory. So it was at that time I started to try to think about, okay, how am I going to sign off on this thing? And the word that kept popping in my head was glory. Glory being, I thought, a strong word because I thought it was his game was returning to glory, which was basically extinct 2 years ago. Let's face it, he was 780th in the world. He was telling people at the Champions Dinner in 2017 he'd probably never play again. And then, of course, the fact that, not that we need to know everything, but we know that his family life took a massive hit, and all of that, the scandal that he lived through, and everything I've ever heard since that time is how he's dedicated his life to trying to get these kids to understand that, his dad made mistakes, and that's not who he is, and he was dedicating his life to those two children to have a different point of view of when they grow up of who their father is. The father that they knew loved them. He was a dedicated and loyal father. It's all I've ever heard for these last 5 or 6 years, driven to give those kids, to rewrite the story of his life to a positive, a wonderful, loving relationship. But, we don't get, nor are we supposed to. Everybody wants him to be on all the time for us. He's on this planet, we think, to perform for us. But the reality is 98% of his life is behind and shielded from public view. And, we all have lives. You're not just on the air all the time. You have a family and a wonderful family life, as do I. I don't walk around all day long with a blue blazer in my hand and a microphone announcing and saying hello, friends. I have a life, and it's a rich one, and it's with my family that is nothing more important. And I've heard the same thing. That's what Tiger's been about. Dedicated dad with his kids' lives and all that. And when you saw the hug, the intensity and the warmth of it, you knew that it was real. It validated, it confirmed everything I had heard. It was a wonderful thing to see. So we let the scene play out. I did use the word glory, the return to glory, because it's a return to glory of his life as well as his golf game. And after that played out for a couple of minutes, I finally inserted that I never thought I would see a moment that could rival the hug with his father in 1997, but I think we just did. And then Nick said it was the greatest celebration scene of all time. Nothing can ever top it. And then I said, that hug with his family, if you're a parent and you didn't have a tear in your eye, you're not human. And, you're ad-libbing through all of this, and you're trying to feel the moment. Golf is a feel sport. Football, you can't take 3 snaps off and not say anything. Basketball, the run up and down the floor, and it's the action's moving at a rapid pace. In golf, I know that some people get lost on this, but it's a sport where it takes a tremendous amount of living into that vibe, feeling what that scene and that moment and the intensity or the lack of intensity or the emotion, whatever it is, you have to kind of lose yourself in it. That's how I've always broadcast golf. Never had a note in front of me. I have enough information from a lifetime of preparation cataloged in my head. I can dial up dates and names and places and historical context. I feel like something I've trained myself to do, and it's a strength for me. And then I talk from my heart. And, there weren't a lot of words said there at the end, but I wanted them to be impactful. And, it's a hard moment to say there's anything any better than that.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.